you kind of make me think of a podcast that I did recently with a very good friend of mine, also a brilliant consultant who has a very diverse background. He was a lecturer. He was leading he was lecturer and professor on digitalization for a long time, and now he's gone back into consulting. But we were talking about disruption in technology, and one of the things he says is, look, time doesn't stop for anybody. Technology is going to disrupt us whether we want it or not. And he says every evolution in technology provides an upgrade and a downgrade. Okay? He says, the possibility of online learning creates a downgrade factor for potential university professors. People are no longer interested in listening to boring professors who just do one slide after the other. Right? Not that we or all of them are like that. There's many of exceptions, but you know what I'm talking about. This negative stereotype. And he said, but if you're open, and I think this is the brilliance of our societal structure and technology, is if you embrace the new technology, it will provide you with and you were referring to the Maslow's pyramid. It will provide you with a means to maybe move up the pyramid and still do. I'll put it very directly. I don't believe that marketeers have to worry about losing their job, because a non-marketeer is not in the position to understand what good text is or good formatting. Yes, you can do a lot of that with AI, but there is still a need for competence, human competence. And if you look at AI as a tool, at least at this stage, maybe later it'll be different. You're going from a hammer and a chisel to maybe a mechanized hydraulic thing, but it's still the artist. It's still so my statement, or maybe also question to you: does human genius still matter in the burgeoning concept of AI? Are we still relevant?
I think so. I definitely think so, and I think that I honestly believe that there will be industries that will be disrupted, and I did a talk recently which quoted a bit of Gartner research about where they're suggesting that by 2030 that 80% of a project manager's role could theoretically be done by an AI augmented piece of software. And for project managers, hearing that statistic, they could go, oh, gosh. But as we know, from our tried and tested experience, that the elements that project managers really want to get into, which we often don't have time to do, is the relational stuff.
The 80% is the pain in the butt stuff. It's the 80%.
More time.
Setting up meetings, writing protocols. Not that that's the only thing we're reduced to, but there's a lot of menial work in project management that if you don't do it, you don't have flow. But it's just time consuming.
Yeah, but I do sometimes feel that for people wanting to enter into project management areas, which often starts with an administrator, like maybe a project support person or administrator, that those jobs probably will be initially right for AI assistance, because we'll have a system that will be able to, do a range of different things for us, such as maybe it can handle daily task management, or maybe
let's do a list of pragmatic things. Because I've heard that. I actually have it's funny too, because I bought a book from Amazon. I have to look who it's from. I don't know if it's any good, but it's about this thick.
Right.
On how AI will impact project management. So let's take it as a context example of where do you see pragmatic examples of AI revolutionizing and accelerating our project management work?
Yeah. There's a number of different areas. Some of those for me will be in concepts such as complex project analytics. That if we sort of set the parameters correctly, that AI will be a genius with that. If we have the
crunching
right
data, right?
Yeah, punching the data. That whole concept around workflow and even project prioritization at the portfolio level would be very right for some form of analytic assistant. some of the sort of let's call them critical but sort of lower roles, such as even a virtual assistant, someone to take minutes and transcribe meetings. That's already something that we do now.
Maybe even to do a dashboard for your steering committee. Now you have to spend hours doing in Power BI or whatever the tool is that you do.
Yeah, general communications out to project team, on a sporadic basis, get your reports in, once a fortnight.
But not only to do the menial work, but to also say, listen, I want you to compare this data to this data from this time to this time. So it's a little bit of a higher form of intelligence than just, hey,
totally.
create me a bubble diagram.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Like I personally think that in the future, the sponsor or the decision makers in projects will essentially have, with artificial intelligence, receive real-time overviews of information and then be able to be flagged to the areas that they need to respond to. Or sponsors will be able to work with project managers and look at options analysis that AI might help generate. Mm-hmm. And then the sponsor hopefully will still make the decision based on a percentage likelihood of success on a get back to green plan, for example. And then the AI solution will update plans and registers and communicate the next action. So all of that, I believe, is really possible.
Theoretically, you could do, health assessments on projects. How completely is it documented? Do we have the data points that we need? Is it on course? Do we have conflicting requirements if we look at the classical issue of configuration management, that you get early warn flags? Okay.
Yeah.
Let me ask you. Go ahead.
And in some contexts where we do the same sorts of projects over and over, like, for example, the building industry or the construction industry, where they're building lots of the same sort of, housing developments, for example, well, then artificial intelligence could whip up your base schedule based on looking at a reference class of material, and then you've passed that off to a project manager as a first iteration, including budgets and cost estimates.
So it'll actually
but not yet.
Yeah. When you were talking, I realized something